Hi, today our guest is Olexander Piekhota. He's a software engineering tech lead at Teaching Strategies, and also he is a founder of AdHoc Space, which is a community based in Edinburgh that hosts events targeting software engineering, product management, and AI talks. Alexander, thank you so much for joining us as a guest, and welcome here.
Hi, Christian. Really, thanks for having me here. Really appreciate it.
Okay. So today I would like to talk about your journey, Alexander. Just to get it started, I would like to ask you, how did your journey in software engineering started?
Oh, well, it was a long time ago. I guess it was around 2012. I was student in Kiev Polytechnical Institute. I guess maybe starting from the first year of my graduation, I already was thinking about to become a software developer and in particular web developer. And my first, I guess, year or two, I spent trying to learn web technologies by myself, like PHP language in particular. And I guess starting from the second year, I tried to go and sell websites to my friends, colleagues, the friends of my friends, and so on and so on. And that was my very beginning of my career path. But it was kind of personal thing that I tried to do. And I guess in the end of the second year of my university, I visited a PHP conference. It was, I guess, maybe very first or one of the first conferences like that in Kiev. It was called conference about UE framework. If for PHP community, it was one of the first frameworks, popular frameworks that appeared in the community. And I appeared there and I met a lot of interesting people. And I met one guy. His name is Vyacheslav, and we talked to each other, and eventually, I guess, during end of the summer that year, he just invited me to join his team in backend development department of internet shop called Notus, and it's Kiev based internet shop. And I guess it's closed already, and you won't be able to hear about that anymore. However, that was kind of the beginning of my journey. And it was quite nice because the guy made he managed to hunt a lot of skilled engineers from how to say it, from his previous team or from the company of his friends. And it's called, if I remember properly, it was called 2GIS. And he managed to get a software engineer technical lead from there, and one of at that moment I remember it was JavaScript engineer. And because of that, we managed to have a really nice learning foundation for me as an engineer, to learn from his best practices, to learn from his kind of advices, to learn from the experience those guys had from 2GIS company, which was joined our team in Notus internet shop.
So basically, that was so basically you mean that there were kind of mentors, and that left a big impact on your career, at least at its start, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. The software that technical lead we had in the team, he was a really skilled guy, and I believe he is now. But the thing is, all the practices, all the approaches is kind of the mindset he has. I was trying to, how to say it, to get all of that from I tried to be as flexible, as agile, to get all the knowledge from him, to get all the kind of like the idea behind why he is doing this, for what purposes, like what kind of like practices he trying to use, and like continuous integration, continuous deployment, like the first CI/CD tools I learned from him, like API approaches, like when you have separate front end and back end. At that moment, it was really a new thing because like we had a lot of monoliths developed like in PHP, and like you keep everything together. So that was kind of idea to have yeah, like and he was like just a nice great skill guy, like who was able to review like your pull requests and help you to address the problem that you have in code, and like maybe like change something, refactor something, like improve something, which was a really nice thing to have.
Basically, what you're saying, that pretty much was your first deep dive, and this is basically how you landed your first tech job in your career.
Yeah, right. So thankfully to this guy I met at the conference, he managed to invite me to his team, and it was the first like the first position in pretty large company at that point. And after that, he managed to like hunt like skilled engineers from like another like big company, and managed to invite all of those skills engineers to the team where I was like a member. And like all of those like guys like managed to, on one side, help to grow the product, and on another side, like were nice good skilled mentors for me personally, and allowed me to learn from them, and allowed me to like grow myself like as a person, like as an engineer. Yeah, kind of like that.
I think that it's quite critical when getting started to have a mentor that would guide you and you will show the best practices. I can tell that I had a couple of them actually in different companies. So this is basically a good guide rails in order to have all the best practices that eventually will make you reach some efficiency or some expertise in that domain. So in a specific domain, that being either mobile or front end or back end or full stack, whatever. Nowadays, I believe it's AI, but I would say that also applies to it as well.
I can add like a few words about this. To be honest, like I was really lucky, I would say like that, because lucky like in both ways. Lucky I had smart enough to like take like all the best from this situation, like to was like, so I was able to lower my ego, like to be flexible enough, you know, like not to maybe like argue about something, like not to try to say that like, hey, my code like is good, like it does the thing, like go and do like your part of the job, like, or something like that. And on the other hand, like it was also like lucky. I mean, I was also like in a good situation, because like when you have really like a person next to you that like you can feel that it's several heads like above you, like in terms of like experience, knowledge, like domain, industry, like knowledge. All of this like allows you to like bypass all the restrictions, like all the problems you can have in your mind much faster, rather than like trying and doing and like learning from your mistakes yourself, which is, yeah, I think like this is kind of like a good thing to have. And talking about like, I'm a little bit like a step away, like step aside, talking about
Yeah, sure.
like people growing now, like trying to start their career, I guess. And I've seen that many people just ignore that. They just trying to do everything by themselves, like these critics, this ego thing. Like sometimes people just won't take even like a simple advice, or even they don't want to listen to it. Like sometimes I'm seeing the situation when you like trying to give all your best to direct a person to somewhere like where they can just literally like benefit from it like as much as it possible, and they just literally can't hear you. Um, yeah, so just because of this kind of like a combination of elements, I guess at that time it was really nice to have.
Yeah, I agree with you. Tell us about the projects that you worked on this role when you got started. Like what were about them? What was the challenges, and what was the lessons that you took from there?
At that time, like it's not kind of like bright thing, like to show off or like to say that like look how nice it
Yeah,
is. It was like my first job and like first part though. At that moment, like, and I guess for the like next maybe like 7 years or something, like I was doing PHP backend development still. And however, like my main focus, I would say, was like during the whole career path was like connecting systems, like integrating like something like with something else. One like technology like or different or like just kind of like integrations. It's funny because at that time like you can't see this like from this perspective, but eventually like when your portfolio grows you can just like reflect about your projects and like your skills and what you have done like overall. But yeah, getting back to the question, my first position was like pretty much simple. I was a backend engineer. At that time we investigated like and explored like this framework, if you remember, like it was the framework from the conference.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And like all
And
the
I
guys,
actually remember I read a book about it on V2. It was, and right after it was the most popular got Code Igniter
yeah,
framework,
yeah,
and later on Laravel came out, which was like a really big stuff, and it keeps going on since then.
yeah. Well, the problem with this framework, like the first version was really good and it did its job really well. So it has like its community and community was really like nice. It was a growing community. It was like great. Like E framework like has all the necessary instruments to become like everything that Laravel is, I would say now. However, like, and I know like at that time I was like able to meet the like founder, one of the founders of this framework. Like it was at that conference.
Really?
Yeah. And this guy like Vyacheslav, he was friend of this founder. And I remember like that
Oh,
maybe like after the conference or like somewhere like not far from that period, we all chilled together like in some kind of like house and talked about like all the technologies and stuff. Like, and I remember even that I guess like the founder, I think his name Alexander as well. One of the founders, like his name is Alexander. Like he even like when we chilled all together, like he showed us like he opened his laptop, like he showed us like some code lines like from the next version of like a framework like V2.
wow.
Yeah, it was really kind of like remembering experience, I would say. Yeah, the thing is they promoted themselves that one is good, but it has issues. And to be honest, like I can't even remember like any of those issues now. So never mind. So they promoted it like as a good instrument, but like there should be like V2 version. And they said like it's gonna be there soon. And a year have passed, like second year, I guess, have passed, like, and they said like, well, wait, we know about all of those problems of the framework, but like soon, very soon, like you will see like the second version. I guess maybe lack of like financing or like maybe just the small like core team or like just maybe some other factors. Like I'm not that strong to comment it properly here. However, like the thing is, they just lost their momentum. They had really good like approach, but they just were like Ravel came out, like other tools were developed, and eventually, like they just lost their niche in the market. I would say something like that.
Yeah, they faded out like quite quickly, especially once Laravel came out, and all around on PHP community were so excited, and it was a huge had a huge adoption, and like it lasts since today, and I believe it's one of the most popular framework out there.
Yeah, like I remember like they had Symfony as well. At that point, like it started developing at some kind of like level, like some micro frameworks became available. And yeah, pretty much everything that UE framework was popular for, like version one, like once all of that came out, like version two was no longer interesting to pretty much anyone. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, getting back to the question like of
Yeah.
the projects I was working on. At that time, like my first job was just like being a software engineer, like developing like backend part and like just being a part of like, front-end API written like with front-end framework and like just doing my backend stuff, which was pretty at some point like like there is like learning curve, like when you just like getting all these tools and technologies and then like you just getting everything of that, all the approaches, like all the thing that has to be built already built, and now you're just like a part of product pipeline developing like a new like some new features. So yeah, my part was that, and I guess about year and like something, maybe like year and a half, I was invited like on the interview to like my second company. It was Genesis. I guess at that moment they called themselves Genesis Technology Partners, or maybe yeah, no, sorry, like that time it was just Genesis, and it was a combination of two products. It was like a dating product. It's called Flitchy, and the second one was like news portal Direction, where they developed various news portals across like different countries, like not Europe, but some in Africa, some like in North America, and yeah, like the country that are still like in the early stage of like developing technologies, yeah, like their stuff, and it was really niche to go there, like, and took part of those markets. And one of the projects was like highlighted projects was like Nige.com. It was a news portal in Nigeria, and we were like the team who started like rewriting the project from its old code base to the new, like to the new wheels, I would say, like to the new core of the things. It was like one part of it. Like I was a part of like this news team, and I was just responsible for, in particular, was responsible for rewriting the project to like the fresh foundation. And on the other hand, also like I was starting like a POC project. I was asked to write an automatic automatic like aggregation tool that will allow the company to enter some market, like not explored up to like some point, and just aggregate news from the whole territory, and then like develop a small aggregator that will show news to the audience, if you see what I mean.
So basically, you're saying that it's an aggregator for tech companies, like something like TechCrunch, or
Maybe mostly like for news, just aggregator for like news that people publish is like every day, something like that.
okay. So just to make it as a single source of truth, like to
Yeah.
have just to open it, like a user can open it and just review, subscribe to different sources, which could be like independent and not necessarily related, but eventually could, if they want, they will see all the news streams in their app and will go it from there.
Yeah, right. Pretty much
How it
it.
went?
Well, it started and it went well. However, like the thing is, the project became very complicated from the approach itself. A lot of tools were used that many people are unfamiliar with. And when I left the company, like the next guy who was assigned to this project, he just gave up on everything that was developed there and said that there is no sense to keep developing this thing. However, like it was kind of like interesting just a few words about it. So the tool was based on like kind of an approach that we were listening to Twitter API. At that time, they had Stream API that allows you to like enter geolocation of tweets and to listen for everything that people publish there. Once you have this, like you can listen all the news, like all the like messages people share across the territory, and you can extract URLs from those tweets and open that in some kind of like tool which you can develop afterwards. If you remember, like again, like it was kind of like a period of maybe great ideas, but poor technologies to use from. Because once you have a URL, you need to answer if it's text, like if it's news, or like some sort of like just a normal page or like landing page or like something else. There were no AI tools, like nowhere like kind of like smart approaches or like pretty much anything that can help you do this properly with a good API. The way I did this was like in Safari at that time, you had a button that allows you to convert page into a nicely looking page of text. Now, like pretty much every browser has this feature, like it's called readability, like button or like something like that. You see, like what I.
Okay, I'm not sure if I used that before. So basically, it can turn any page in a readable article.
Yeah,
And
right.
assuming that could be a news page, news article, it will just look good, like right out of the box.
Yeah, it's also like beneficial when you have a lot of advertisement on the page or a lot of like junk or like a lot of related pages. This thing just does the trick and it just filters everything and shows the clear article to you in a nice readable format. Well,
Nice.
it was the only approach available at that moment. So I had an option either to develop my own parser or like somehow make use of this tool. And one guy posted like a source code of this tool. It was JavaScript based at some third-party website. I can't even imagine like how I managed to get this website. And I literally took that JavaScript code and used Phantom.js like browser, just injected this into the page once it's loaded to this Phantom.js API. And once I did this, I managed to extract either like text or like either like get some exception that this page is not text-based page. So this approach, combination of like JavaScript, like backend, like integrations plus Phantom.js integration plus PHP website that allows people to read those news and several extra like nice thing to have, like to filter duplicates, like to remove like everything, all the junk like from the website, allowed us to like develop several portals for developing countries and like just test the market and see if it works well, like for the company to develop their own like portal and allow themselves like to go further with it.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. I think that would make you waste so less time on developing this solution. So that's a great thing to do it on the project. You were more oriented towards reusing some solutions that do a good job instead of building all from the scratch.
Yeah, right. And to be honest, like over the years, I'm found myself like a guy that rather like reuse some existing tools rather than develop something from scratch. And like the longer like I develop code, the longer like I participate in product development, the more I understand that it's better to spend a little bit of time, less time, like rather than developing something new, to learn existing tools and try to integrate them rather than trying to make my own something. And just like a quick like off top, like it's maybe like going a little bit further, but the thing is Like when you develop a new project, for example, and you use some tools, like famous tool, popular tools. I have seen like a lot of times when like people come and like something written from scratch is not clear for them. They don't understand the idea. They usually want to refactor everything. Like they usually want to like redo like some parts of it. They don't like the architecture. They have different opinion on something. You need to argue with them about all the approaches. Self-development tool requires a lot of documentation and like reasoning, like why you did this and this and like that. And most of the time, like all of those problems can be mitigated, like if you just follow some industry standard plus add a little bit of customization. It's much more easier to go like from the team development perspective rather than like, you know, like just trying to have some core developed by you and then like trying to like sell it everyone around.
Yeah, because one thing is that the solution that you might integrate is already battle tested, and you might know for sure that it will work, and it covers more edge cases that you can foresee, and economically it's much more cheaper. That would
Yeah.
be the two reasons to go with it, and to consider it instead of going like right from the scratch, because in that otherwise it will cause a lot more money to be wasted into a solution that wouldn't go maybe that well, and it will be pretty buggy once released. I have a question about what projects are you most proud of working on, and how did those experiences shape you as an engineer?
Well, it was kind of like last year's working in the company called AirSlate. Previously, it was the company PDF Filler, and the company eventually grew pretty decent, and they acquired the company called SignNow, and after that, they renamed themselves into AirSlate, and they wanted to make the same name product, which is like AirSlate, and the position for this product was to make a kind of like a platform that's gonna unify all the products in the company portfolio into something like you know, like Atlassian, they have like some extra products with bucket. And yeah, like when you buy Atlassian or like you buy subscription, you will get access to everything. However, like it's all integrated like into one product in some way.
Yeah.
So the vision was for AirSlate to be the similar product. However, like the fun part was is when the product development started, the goal was to create something that would be, from the technical perspective, as good as possible. It was literally like the requirement from the CEO, and they wanted to make it like ideal from every corner. So once we develop like and deploy the product, there is no technical debt at all. This is where one story begins.
How it was achieved, or was
I
it?
was like part of the core team of the product development part, and I was responsible like for backend part. I was responsible for developing like APIs, shape database, like introduce some infrastructure, collaborate with all the necessary teams, and put everything together. Because the product was very important and like such an edge, how to say it, like such a bright and nice idea of like all the like board minds, like, so they wanted like to make it ideal. As I said previously, they placed pretty much all the technical leaders, like all the like technical stars from the company into the same room and said like, okay guys, let's work together and let's put all the best we could like into making it possible. The good thing is probably like allow you to give some sort of like nice ideas and nice things to develop. The bad problem, like the bad side of this is everyone has its own ego and everyone has its own technical path behind them, which says how to develop things and how to make things right. And the worst thing was we didn't even have the product understanding or like the product roadmap, how it should look like in the very end.
So there was only the mission about making a technical, impeccable software, but it wasn't really defined on what it should exactly do in the end.
On kind of like high level, it's supposed to integrate like PDF filler. It's supposed to integrate like Sign Now. It has to have some kind of like API that's gonna be unified API for the whole platform together. It will do like file uploads. It will do like editing PDFs, signatures and stuff like that. However, like it wasn't exactly clear what kind of use case gonna be for the user.
Yeah.
How it's going to be interacted, what kind of process is going to be go through the system. And because of that, instead of like thinking how to make proof of concept and make the idea work for some basic kind of like use case, we started developing like a whole bunch of different things, I would say not very important or related. So we started like developing everything like with containers, and we started like to developing our infrastructure like completely into Kubernetes. The bad part of this was like it was the first project that went into Kubernetes in the company on such scale. And our DevOps team wasn't ready for that, because at some point they need to extra learn some stuff, and like they need to get deeper into how to make things right. So it was kind of like learning path for them. Then we started like splitting everything into microservices, like based on our understanding of the product. Before the product even started, we already had, I guess, 15 or like 20 microservices responsible for different things altogether.
I assume that was mostly technical responsibilities for microservices.
Well, kind of like it was, for example, our server that was responsible and like central layer, like for all the authentication. However, like there were like things like document management is going to be like one microservice, like workflow is going to be like another one. Since we want to develop a platform, there is going to be another service called add-ons platform. Then like we need some user service, so then we need something extra and like extra, and like every idea became like into a kind of like thing that pushed us to develop a new microservice. Yeah, because of that, like the tech problems, they grew like, I would say, more exponentially rather than like even solving any particular
like
problem.
A big ball of mud.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we didn't, and because like we didn't have enough knowledge about the domain and about the use cases, we couldn't understand where to stop with those microservices. Like what's the flow, what's gonna be kind of like the problem and stuff like that. We had, for example, like naming used in the project, and at some point the product vision changed. This name has to be changed. It's already became like a huge problem and huge task to rename and like refactor everything to like to be adapted for this name. And yeah, like it was so funny to see all of this. Like a DevOps team and like some architectures tried to push Postgres database instead of like MySQL we had previously. Well, long story short, all of those kind of points lead to the situation where the project becomes so heavy and like so difficult to work with that and also like it was very expensive in terms of infrastructure, because like all of those containers, you need to have all of them duplicated for each environment. For production, you need 2 of each containers, right? Like, so they are like fail tolerant, like, and yeah. And like load balancers, like all the like ingress containers, like and stuff like that. So the whole infrastructure was mess, deploying one environment like to like the code to the one environment and making sure all the versions deployed, everything is connected, and everything that like has to work properly like works. It was just another challenge that like the one can face.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And do you know how it eventually ended up?
Well, while I was there, like we managed to run the first like the first version of it. So it's actually reached the world, and like it started like serving like people use cases. However, like the problem is because of like so many different nodes and different like connections in between, we faced a problem with like with the load when like some parts were like too slow, or like they couldn't handle enough load from the real use case. When, for example, you have invoice flow and you need to send it to the whole company, and like 500 people need to sign documents, which creates like a load of like on different services, like, and some of them becomes bottleneck, which eventually like fails into the final problem. Yeah, so it works. It's live. I know that they trying to handle it up to this point. However, like they try to rewrite the core, they try to refactor everything. And I guess there are maybe like 1 or 2 extra versions developed like up from the point when I left. However, like I guess the momentum like now is a little bit lost, because they still spending time not develop like, you know, like new use cases or like covering like product features, but trying to just fix existing problems that were developed at the initial stage.
Yeah, it reminds me somehow of a horror story of having like a big chunk of software on and trying to manage it with uh, uh, within the existing budget. For you in particular, what was the most valuable lesson that you've learned from this kind of experience?
Can I say few?
Sure, yeah.
Well, the first thing I would say, like, never think about technology first. Think about the product and think about what you want to achieve. It's probably important at some level, but again, like POC first would solve so much, just like so many different problems for you, for your audience. If you are like a product guy, like if you are kind of like a guy who wants to sell it, like, or show some kind of like initial stage, simple, fast, flexible proof of concept, much more, in my opinion, stable and future proof, rather than like even you know, like making things even a little bit complicated. The cheaper technology is, the faster it is, the more flexible. If you can do it like in 2 days, like with some sort of like basic framework without any fancy technology, do it like in 2 days. You can refactor it all like tomorrow when you get your first contract, when you have like some money like flow settled, or like some, you know, like some kind of like product vision, or like some kind of product understanding that will help you grow the things like in the right way. But don't do any of that like if you don't know like your customer, if you don't know like the use cases and flow to develop. It's probably the first lesson. The second one, I would say, like when you have a team or like a group of people and all of them want to affect the technical decision of something, you need always have someone who is in charge of like all of those decisions. So there are going to be always like a one person who is going to be always responsible for the whole part together. And this person has to have, like, how to say it, like the judge rule, you know, like the judge call when to say like stop.
I would say to
or
be
like
accountable.
Yeah, right. Like 100% accountable. So even if some idea makes sense, you need to still have enough authority to like say, no, we don't go with this technology, at least for now, because it won't make any big impact to the POC, for example, or like it doesn't make sense for us at this point, even if it's like 100% workable solution, even if it's written like in the book that like you need to go like with microservice, or like you need to go with Thompson. Like, because all of those like smart people can bring you like so many different ideas and thoughts and opinions that it can make the product not start in a year even. like broke the whole point of like product development. So sometimes I would say decision skill and decision making is more important than the quality of technology decision, like more important than the quality of technical decisions. Fast pace, ability to be agile, like try and learn, maybe like roll back something. Well, long story short, like fast, flexible decision making is better than, you know, like having a concilium of like 10 smart people trying to discuss the idea.
I got it. That I think is a very valuable piece of advice. Okay, but zooming out from your career, like that's a lot of interesting moments and share. I'd like to ask you about how do you view the tech industry right now?
Well, I guess in terms of like maybe junior engineers, if we're talking about like software development sector, in terms of like junior engineers, I guess they are screwed now, like
Why?
in terms of their place under the sun, because all of those smart integrations, all of those like codex agents, all of those simple kind of like AI approaches that exist now, they can really allow you to not to have a junior engineers in team at all, because the amount of time you spend helping them, amount of time you spend like trying to teach them will be much longer comparing to the fact that you just send a request to AI model to solve the problem you want to delegate to like junior engineer, which is kind of like sad, because we still need, you know, like a fresh minds, like fresh people in the industry. And this makes their career path much more complicated, much more challenging, you know, like much more like competition from all these modern tools we have now, which makes it really kind of like not something maybe like for those people wanted to have. On the other hand, I really see how useful like AI is and how beneficial it is like for many tasks we do now. Like you need to do some research. It helps you like at once you need to fix some problem you don't want to spend your time on. Like it helps you do this. You have some kind of like new technology to learn, you can start doing like project from scratch, and like by following like AI guidances, it can help you develop a project like without like any kind of like extra knowledge, just knowing the basics, just knowing like the basic understanding of the language helps you to develop very mature advanced applications. I personally did the same by myself. I am kind of like weak developing front-end applications, especially developing React applications. And recently I just took repo, like front-end repo based like React and Next.js based repo. And I was able to convert it from like file-based approach to like API GraphQL queries and like render data from backend API without
And that
like
worked really
zero.
well.
Yeah, like it works well, decent, and now even I am not the last person in like JavaScript. So kind of like this won't be possible without like in the past I would have to take like 5 courses, learn like a whole bunch of like problems, like go to like Stack Overflow, learn like so many different issues that can appear during the whole pipeline. Yeah, like AI solves all of this for us now, which really cool. So yeah, overall, I guess I'm not gonna be like kind of like the smartest guy here to say that, yeah, like the biggest change in the industry now is AI. And the further we go, the more it becomes a part of our like work. The terrible thing is companies integrated into their like corporate infrastructure. So Codex becomes a part of like pull request review guy. Codex become like security audit tool. Codex become like even code fixes can be done by AI, fixing small vulnerabilities, issues like code smells in your code, which just makes you kind of like a philosopher who just needs, like to think about higher matters, like and just like kind of like explore the way how the idea should look like, and then like pretty much everything else can be done with AI, which is, I would say, cool. But again, there are some drawbacks for that.
Okay. What do you think there are? Like, what are the drawbacks that actually might concern you?
Well, again, as I said, like for junior engineers, like it's really difficult to get into the market now. This is like probably like one of the biggest things. Maybe like eventually AI become so good that only like very particular skill set will be needed for the companies to work with, and yeah, like I mean, the shape of the industry is changing and changing like really fast, which is well, but I would say maybe like for me personally, it's really a cool thing because I can do 5 times more than I could do like 5 years ago, and this is really like nice thing to have, and maybe it makes sense just to focus on benefits, and eventually maybe we are gonna get used to um, the world with AI and like just somehow adapt to it. I guess something like
Okay.
that.
Yeah, that's a good point actually regarding the juniors and people that feel stuck. What would be your take on how to stay relevant? Like what skills to invest in 2026 and beyond? Like my take is system design will be like the most relevant in the future, like especially for system to scale.
Yeah, I've just like one more thought about the previous question. Also, the drawback like for the AI approaches now is that sometimes people can be lazy, can become lazy like using AI tools, and they can integrate it into their like VS Code or like their IDE, and you can now see a lot of pull requests, sometimes not even tested properly, sometimes like with some kind of like basic AI issues in somewhere like very deep in the code. And the problem is because pull requests now can be huge and person can even be aware of those problems. And the only time when you will see this is going to be kind of like a moment when it's going to be production, some users issue on production, and somebody like just faced this particular bug, and you as a like technical leader, you need to go and figure it out and understand it, like, and maybe fix and address. And this is gonna be like, I've seen this kind of situations where like you need to fix something when user faces the problem because nobody was aware about this problem like before it was written by AI. And yeah, this kind of things where it works, but it works magically, like sometimes make things even worse rather than just making things fast or like just working like somehow, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, what I understand from your take is that even though it provides much more productivity, it still should be supervised in order to make sure that the issues that might be eventually got on production will not cost that much, in case the issue will be revealed for the end users.
Yeah. And developers should spend extra time reviewing the code, maybe like reflecting on that, maybe like trying to write some tests at least to like make sure these edge cases won't never happen or something like that.
And be to develop like even more the critical thinking.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I agree. I
Um,
agree with that. Okay, that's a very good point, and I appreciate sharing your perspective on it. I believe we are getting to the end of our podcast, so I would like to ask a quick fire round of questions. Is that cool? Okay, cool. All right. I would say I would start with the first one. What's your favorite programming language right now?
Uh, Well, I would say it's a mix. It's PHP and Golang. And yep, due to the nature of the product now, it has to be like more time spent on PHP. However, like I do like Golang, and I like to solve problems like using this language, and I like the way it works, how safe it is, how stable it is, and because of like it has all the kind of tools that maybe like PHP is missing, and like maybe like other languages is missing, such as like speed, like a synchronous approach, like types, pretty much everything you need in like modern like task development. It has pretty much all of that. So yeah, because of this, like I really like Golang. But
And it's simple.
yeah, and it's simple. But
The
again,
simplicity, like it's one of the biggest trade-off. Yeah, that I was working like for 6 years with Golang, and I can tell, yeah, all of that you said, and the simplicity, like the very sleek design and the number of abstractions as little as possible.
yeah. However, like the product guy, I can say that sometimes you need just working solution, like working backend or like admin panel or something. And it's just cheap, like less expensive to do this like with PHP and like Laravel and maybe like some built-in tools there. So
Yeah.
sometimes it has to be like that. But again, like from as a technical guy, I would say like I would go with PHP, go with Go. Sorry.
Okay. That's really cool. Yeah, I agree with you on that. Okay, next one. Best piece of career advice that you ever got.
It's a tough one, I guess. I need to be clear and understandable and like not to overload it. Best piece of career advice. Well, the thing is, career is a very kind of like changing thing in the life. Sometimes you can be kind of like on top of your career. Tomorrow you can be like on very bottom of it. You can learn and know everything, and you have like new tools coming, and then like you again like learn like you know nothing, and this is probably fine overall. So, and again, like in career and like working for companies, they probably won't invest a lot in your knowledge, in your experience. They just like want you to develop or do something for them. So sorry for this long introduction. I would say the advice would be, as much as possible, try to dedicate some time for your own projects or your own ideas. Try to spend a little bit of time in the evening developing something that's interesting to you. If there is a friend that asks you to like found something together, develop something together, like they want you to participate in something like that will bring you some extra knowledge. You never know like where this path will lead you, but at some points, maybe they will lead you to something good. In worst case, you will get a very nice experience that still will be very useful later, like in your working life and working career. Again, I would say a good advice would be like to be kind of like humble, try to listen to people, and sometimes even like people with less experience, less knowledge, less kind of like professional education, sometimes they can give you some idea that maybe like can affect pretty much everything. And from your perspective, you just need to hear that rather than just saying that you are wrong and like you know how to make things better.
Yeah, that's a very good one. Yeah, totally agree. The other one, your top 3 books recommendations.
I was thinking about like question like that. To be honest, like I'm not a very good book reader, and in the era of AI, I would probably say that maybe like this not that actual anymore. I mean, like to go with something very practical or something very applied. It's very difficult to go with that. So
Okay.
my simple advice would be here, go with something like very high level, very basic, very kind of like thing that will be actual in any case, in any scenario. Like if you want to go like with programming or like architecture, take something like clean code or like some kind of things like that. This will
Clean
help you a
architecture.
lot. Yeah, clean architecture, like those things will be actual all the time without kind of like like any kind of like innovation that we will gonna have in industry, without all these rapid changes of frameworks, language, programming languages, and pretty much everything like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is it. I would say probably like one more thing in terms of book, which was really mind-changing for me. It was How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Oh yeah.
This one is important because from this book, maybe like I will bring you like a little bit of spoiler here, but this book helped me to understand that everyone thinking about themselves, and everything they do to you and like everything that happens to you happens not because you are good in something or like you are like nice or like a skilled guy, but because everyone wants something from you, and they solve their needs first. Like maybe like I'm a little bit placing like my perspective here, but the idea is like if your manager comes to you asking something, think about like what does he need to you, not exactly what he is saying to you. Like if like your colleague come in like with some idea or like some approach, maybe he wants to be seen, maybe he wants to be noticed, maybe he wants some mentorship from you, not just like I mean, knowing this idea will help you to think about people who comes with something to you, and will help you to read a bit deeper in their kind of like reasoning why they come to you, which eventually helps you with career, which with your career path, product development, everyday communication, and stuff like that. I've seen a lot of times when people want to be an architect and they are really skilled, mature. I mean, they are younger than me. They are like developed less products than me, but like they are two heads above in terms of like technical skill, and still they are struggling like to become like a technical leader. They struggle to become like software architect, principal engineer. And it's not because like they are not technical enough. They just like, maybe sometimes lack this kind of like communication between people. And that is why, and this is something where you can't put AI to. So this is completely about human interactions and like working with people. And this book was really kind of like mind-changing for me.
Exactly. I totally agree with you. I also love this book. So I can also recommend. I also recommend all the Dale Carnegie's books as well. So yeah, they're
Yeah.
all, and it's thank you for sharing. Also, the last question actually, what's next thing for you? Like what's something exciting that you are working on right now, and if you can share it.
Yes. So from my working perspective, we are currently helping company develop their own CMS. So previously company tried to, the company name is Teaching Strategies, the company I'm working at the moment. And the problem is the company tried for last 3 or 4 years to develop to buy an external third-party system to allow them to edit their content, which is like a lot of content already in the database. And every third-party system fails in some way. Like some are not very usable, some are like not very fault tolerant, like you can see like issues on production or something like that. Some requires like a huge amount of like extra knowledge for editors. And to address that, we decided to make use of PHP, Laravel, and a Laravel package called Laravel Nova, which allows you to prototype like classes called resources that allow you kind of like direct CRUD access to your database entities. By introducing custom fields, introducing custom elements, all of that is pretty much extendable. All the UI is Vue.js components. And yeah, this allowed us to, like, in a very short period of time, to show proof of concept, and maybe like in terms of half a year, shift the company direction from third parties that cost company like hundreds and hundreds, thousands of dollars, into a very nice self-made good tool, which they have full control of. And moreover, they connected to real data sources, like which allows instant data change once the page is updated. And it's really like flexible, even though Laravel Nova package itself paid solution. But I mean, it costs you like $200 or $300 like per subscription. But apart from that, like, it solves problems that are much beyond like somebody could even imagine in terms of like admin.
And it has a good return on investment.
Yeah. Apart of that, growing community, trying to like develop some personal, like some pet projects and somehow integrate them into the community as well. Trying to make all of these for free, try to make it for the sake of community benefit. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay, and where can people follow this this project that you mentioned?
Yeah, like there is a website. It's called AdHoc Space.
Okay. Oh yeah, I will share the link in the description. Yeah.
Yeah, and this website will lead you to the LinkedIn and Instagram page, pretty much the same name.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's a good. And also, I will share your LinkedIn page as well in the description, so people can find you and connect with you as well.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we reached the end of our discussion. So yeah, it was a very huge story that you shared. Thank you so much, Alexander, for coming today and share all of this. I was very excited to have you here, and I actually had learned some advices from you as well, and hopefully you guys also learn from that too, and put that in practice.
Thanks for inviting me. Thanks for having me. Thanks for having like all of those great questions. And yeah, thank you for being such a thoughtful listener. Again, it's such a rarity nowadays. So yeah, my pleasure to be here.
Pleasure was mine as well. Thank you.
Thank you.